Hello, good day, and welcome back, everyone, to the Overwatch Eurocup fundraiser event. This is, as always, Threepwood007, and I'm joined by Sir Waltham.
Hi, Threepwood. Good to be back after our little 30-minute break from our South Africa Bulgaria game. Excited to be now doing South Africa Iceland this time
Yeah.
around.
Looking forward to this particular matchup. This is kind of a chance for South Africa to strut some more of their stuff, and also for Iceland, whom I personally, we personally have yet to see in action, see how they match up, and we are going to be getting started up on Oasis to begin with. So, I'm curious. Oasis is one of the maps I haven't seen particularly in this today's matchups so far. Curious to see how South Africa will adapt, given that we know them to be pretty much a favor of the double barriers and also some of that Pharah Doomfist action.
Yeah, Fari, you gotta think, at least for a few maps on Oasis, it's gonna be looking pretty good for that, pretty likely for that Farah. And then once we hit University, I think that's when we might see the switch to Doomfist occur a little bit more predominantly. But either way, I think that those are still kind of going to be par for the course as we've been seeing them a lot more lately. Of course, South Africa coming off the back of their last game against Bulgaria didn't really pan out as well as they would have liked. They went 1-3, so hopefully they're looking to make a name for themselves against Iceland. But Iceland has some talent here today, Three.
Yeah, definitely. These team members are no less members of the T3 Excellence. They are all very, very skilled. What I'm also looking forward to is seeing how Iceland has adapted to this 2-2-2 patch that has been enforced. We see that Half-a-Cool is sitting in there, and they seem to have a number of different heroes that they would prefer. And with the 2-2-2 lock, they are going to be forced to pick at least one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's there's a huge number of of characters you can pick, but it ultimately comes down to what they're going to feel most comfortable on. Like we said, these players on the Iceland roster, some of them pretty brand name. Half a Cool Finzi. These are not unknown names to even the average contenders viewer. So if you're going to be keeping an eye out, Iceland, you definitely got to give a little bit of leg up to. But that being said, what better team to make a name against than Iceland if you're South Africa? If you can get some wins on this board, you'll be feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an uphill battle for both of them, but with regards to Team Iceland, they have a lot stacked in their favor. So we also are going to be potentially getting ready and no, it looks like there's just a couple of members of the team that aren't quite ready to get back into it. So let's talk some more about Oasis then, Waltham. We have a
Sure.
lot of different map types to go into here with, and it's difficult to say which one's going to be coming up first. I think last time we ended up starting in the city center, very open, and then of course there's Mecha Bay, very closed. Which do you think Africa will have a better chance of excelling in?
Oh man, it's hard to say. Africa, it was a little bit difficult to get a read off of them. Although I know that they do like playing that May. They like leaning on it, and I think it's kind of one of their stronger points. Um, so really, I think with Oasis, you have the option to, I think University is probably one of the better maps for them because they do have the option to restrict a little bit of the choke lines, kind of go in a restrict the opposing team's movement. But that being said, it doesn't look like that's going to be the option for them to start.
Yeah. We are going to be coming in here, and it is a technically a Farah-able map, so to speak. Possible you might even see some Widowmaker and maybe even some Doomfist. From what I can remember of South Africa's play, given that it was literally only 30 minutes ago, I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing like a Luke possibly jumping onto that Farah. Meanwhile, however, what I am most curious about is how Iceland's lineup is going to look coming out of spawn.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that they're going to have the potential to set kind of a nice little pace here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we did see a soldier lock coming out, at the very beginning. It doesn't look like they'll be sticking with it, and instead, Half a Cool going to be hopping onto that Farah. Curiously enough, at the gate, we're not seeing any Mercy to complement.
Which is interesting. We talked a little earlier about how you are pretty much almost have to run the Mercy with it. Now, given that it's Futhark, I have a feeling that they might be, based on their pool, looking to get everyone boosted out of spawn lickety-split and then catching up with a Mercy pick. And there it is. Yep, they're sticking in spawn. They're switching over, and we are off. And it is going to be the Pharmacy combo with a Doomfist going up against South Africa's Sombra.
Yeah, 20 has a kind of an upper hand here if they can get the hacks on to Sindri. Sindri gonna have to be pretty cautious themselves, otherwise they'll be pretty much disabled. But Leica Luke going down early is not great.
Yeah, Leica Luke falling very quickly to Steel Dragon's Orisa, and a big, nice little anti-nade comes in. Finzi not going to be able to stay long enough. Half a cool also going to be forced down. So all of a sudden, this just turned into quite the battle for the point with South Africa, despite being split, going to be racking up the kills.
Yeah, and the res going to be coming in from Futhark. However, it was Sentacol trying to punish, not quite able to, not able to put in that amount of damage just yet. And because of that, we're going to be seeing the Pharah right back into battle. At least we would have if 20 hadn't gunned them down in cold blood.
Yeah, South Africa making a very solid play for this point. The hack goes on to Futhark as well, going to keep them distracted and hopefully forced away from the point if you are South Africa. So Steel Dragon's falling down again late into that fight means it's going to be a while before Iceland can bring their full might to bear again.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're seeing a little bit more swap coming through after cool on that and they part on the Lucio. Lucio's usually pretty good at these control point style maps. They like being able to have that positioning, put a big wall coming out, blocking out Chase.
Yeah, talk about getting use out of those cooldowns. 1 cooldown per kill is a really solid metric, and if you can get more than that, then so be it. Futhark finds the big 4-man EMP though comes out. Half a cool getting one of those effective. No kill's gonna come out from that, and instead 20 catches an icicle to the face.
Yeah, I liked the combo attempt that went in from the Diva and the Sombra, that is, but really it didn't quite seem to lead to anything just yet. And right now, the sound barrier being committed by Vision just as far on point as the Shapeshifter's Primal.
And then the Finzi Sigma ult also comes in, so Iceland has now committed just about everything that they had going into it to this fight. 20's going to be the last one to get cleaned, or rather Shapeshifter's the last one to get cleaned up here. I like the dive that's coming out from, uh-oh, looks like Iceland forgot to cap the point. There it is.
Yeah, they're gonna double back just real quick to retake it. But now, if you're on the side of South Africa, you're in a tough spot because you don't have many ults to retake with. You're going to have the Meteor Strike, but you don't have your tanks, you don't have your DPS ults, well, you don't have your other DPS ult, your EMP online. It's gonna be very tough.
And so there it is. Sindri is going to find the first kill on the Light Luke. The Doomfist duel being won for the time being. And the rest of Shapeshifters, jetpacks and monkey bits will have to be picked up off the floor from the rest of that accretion disc as Iceland making a stand and also now starting to build back up to a formidable ult pool.
Yeah, they really only committed that coalescence from Numi, so they're going to be feeling pretty all right about that. Still, not a lot of ult charge built up onto the side of South Africa. That's not great. You still have like Luke's Meteor Strike. You didn't invest that, which I think is good control on the side of Leica Luke. But Futhark gonna have that sound barrier, so even if you do try to engage with that, they might see that as an opportunity to barrier. It seems a little bit unlikely as that's a really long ult to commit to just one Meteor Strike.
Yeah, now speaking of which, the Nano Boost has gone squarely onto, and there it is. Is it actually going to result in any kills? Survey says no! Leica Luke misplaces the Seismic Slam and ends up way over top of the point, and instead that's going to be almost a total team wipe now, as Iceland cleans up the point and overtakes the percentage.
Yeah, and Happy Cool still not even having to commit this Blizzard. That is a really good spot to be in. You like holding on to that, because just the threat of that Blizzard can make you a little bit hesitant. And Sentacol, I mean, they might just be trying to not get it eaten by the Diva player, but still, you don't have a whole lot of time if you're on the side of South Africa. You have to get to the point.
Yeah, you have to do something. Someone's got to get there, but the more triple you have, the more likely it is that someone's going to get canned. And it looks like it's an EMP coming into the back line from 20 that's going to start this one off. Leica Luke, however, they get caught out very early. Shapeshifter down again. Winston just cannot catch a break. Despite Sentinel finding the kill onto half a cool with the Diva Bomb, that round of Oasis is going straight to Iceland.
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment for South Africa where they looked pretty dominant and in control, but then Iceland just took it back and did not give it up. And instead, we're going to be moving on to University. I doubt we will still continue to see the dive style play coming through from South Africa, as Even before Ori and Sigma combos started becoming predominant, you didn't really see dive on University.
Yeah, and it was always much more the Deathball style maps with Reinhardt and Zarya leading the charge kind of way. Now, you do see a lot of Pharah play every once in a while, and Half-Cool, if they stay on this Pharah, I don't think it's going to be a bad choice. You can do a lot in this little side area here, where you have some room to maybe boost some people off.
Yeah, absolutely. 20 going to be hopping onto that Reaper as well, trying to get up into the face of the tanks, ideally just peel back a lot of damage if capable, but going to be trying to take the side room, and it's not going to quite be met by the same enthusiasm from Iceland.
Wow. So both Moiras go down very early in the fight, huge sources of healing that aren't going to be available, or DPS if you're Visions. And it is again, so South Africa, I always love seeing this. They take up such a forward position on the point to clear out the space, but Iceland is starting to weigh in with the kills here. I don't think South Africa's going to be able to get away with this one.
Yeah, 20 looking like they still want to play up into the face of Steel Dragons, but not quite able to deliver the punch that Reaper needs to. Steel Dragon's locked onto them the entire time, and the call-out sure comes around by the time that Wraith form drops. We just see 20 get burned down. Gonna be swapping onto the Widow, perhaps to try to just clear out some lines of sight so their team can figure out the spawn. But with that being said, now another forward position being held, this time by Iceland. And really, man, South Africa needs to turn something up, and maybe 20 on the McCree might do it.
Yes, and so 20 on the McCree is going to come sliding in here. Steel Dragons gets caught out, and they might be able to take it down, but 20 just can't land the shots. And Futhark also is going to be able to get out of there alive on the Mercy. Tentacle goes down to Sindri's Fists of Doom, and again, South Africa is repelled, and a massive ult bank starting to take hand as Iceland hasn't needed a single one.
Yeah, Iceland has pretty much a full bank. Sindri going down, but will be brought right back up by Futhark. And the Coalescence being committed, that's a little bit questionable, and it's only going to be followed up by and slammed to the ground by Sindri. That's tough spot.
Wow, and even the Valkyrie getting committed to that fight as well. Only a barrage remains on the side of Iceland. Nope, never mind. It's the Sonic Slam, and it's all Seismic Slam, and it's also the Bongos. So you could say that they're in a pretty good position, though South Africa coming on with the Blizzard and the Sigma ult is going to be nice.
Yeah, Iceland laid those ults on a bit strong, perhaps, but they're going to feel secure in doing that because they know that they will have 3 more to work with, and the ult economy can't be too good from South Africa from their point of view. Going to be dropping that bomb at the start.
Yeah, and 20 still trying to find the Pharmacy in the sky. Half-Cool, however, while they still have the free reign, Ashbro is going to be the one to go down. And it's the health and coolness of South Africa not looking good as Half-Cool rains down justice from above. Also building up to that barrage again. It's 10 more seconds until Iceland has this point capped in doubleth.
Yeah, there needs to be another good push coming through from the side of South Africa. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Blizzard eaten by Finzi from Lycaluke. That is critical.
And another Seismic Slam resulting in 2 kills this time from Sindri. That's a wrap. 2 rounds and done. Iceland takes Busan. This is not looking good for South Africa.
Yeah, this is pretty much kind of what most people would have expected to be par for the course for South Africa. If they were having trouble against Bulgaria, it's looking like they're going to have a little bit more trouble up against Iceland. Iceland is one of those teams that's been performing so well in this bracket. But either way, I think their team coordination has been pretty good. Their ult usage for the side of Iceland has not needed to be that sharp because they've been building them so fast. But still, I think they're a little bit reserved. They're not throwing them out needlessly to most degrees.
Right, no lies detected there. So South Africa has a lot to take away from that particular matchup there, especially given how proficient Half-Cool's Pharah was, and also given how solid the tank play was coming out from the Steel Dragons, appropriately named possibly. Shapeshifter is going to have their work cut out for them on the main tank role. South Africa's typical play style of seizing that space worked out really well for them. I think if they can just get the support resources engaged as well, that strategy will continue to work well for them.
Yeah, and as a main tank player in this kind of comp that Iceland's running, you have a really tough time because how do you properly defend against a Pharah without just, committing all your resources to looking up? Or, in this instance, if you're an Orisa, can you even really defend against a Pharah that much? If you're out in the open, obviously if you're up against a wall or something and you have complete coverage from your shield, then that's fine. But you have to be really conscious of those angles and the angles the Pharah are taking. Pharah just makes this so much more difficult of a situation to be in, especially for the South African team.
Now, meanwhile, it looks like South Africa is going to be selecting Route 66 as their next follow-up escort map. So this is interesting. We have now entered into yet another Farah battleground, but here in particular, like we saw previously this day on Hollywood, this is a very nice sniper duel map.
Yeah, it certainly can be a lot of high ground, particularly during the streets of phase. And then, of course, as we get to the third point, where you might be expecting to see a little bit more Doomfist. Either way, I think that Doomfist Farah are going to be largely what we see. And right now, I think we're just waiting for the teams to ready up before we go diving right on into the match here. What do you think we're going to be seeing out of Iceland? Do you think we're going to be seeing more of the same?
Based on how Iceland performed just now, I'm going to argue that if they continue to play that particular strat, I think it'll do really well for them. The Pharmacy with the Doomfist going, Sindri on the Doomfist rather, going careening into the backline. It's just very disruptive. It's a combo that is being played a lot in this particular patch for a very good reason. It's very difficult to deal with. We saw 20 try to switch onto that McCree just to deal with them a little bit, but it's so chaotic with all those barriers running around. You have to contribute a lot of resources to that McCree still these days to make him effective. It can work, definitely. But right now, it might be up to South Africa to try and figure something else out. Otherwise, I would say Iceland can keep doing what they've been doing.
Yeah, and so far we haven't even seen that many rocket barrages be rained down upon South Africa, but we know that that's something that they've kind of had problems with. 20, for being the hit scan player of this team, has not been doing such a proficient job at keeping the Farah out of the sky. I think that's something they're definitely going to keep trying to change up and look for different alternatives for. At least I think they need to if they want to see different results.
Absolutely. So Iceland is going to be starting off on the defense here, and in fact, they are electing to forego the Farah in favor of at least one sniper on this very open map, and it's going to be half a cool now. It seems like they might be a bit of the projectile DPS expert. Coming out on the Hanzo, and this time Numi going to be rocking in on the Ana as well. No Moira to be seen this time around from either team.
Yeah, not going to be dealing that massive group healing. Instead, will be more single target focus. I can't say I disagree. Numi going to be taking a position on top of Big Earls. That high ground, long range capabilities going to be pretty friendly for an opposing Ana, or for an Ana rather. We are still seeing it looks like Luke going to be on that Farah with visions, giving him the nice little pocket in the sky.
So this is going to be curious now. It's 20 on a Widowmaker, and there's definitely a lot more of a chance for them to flex their hit scan powers. But as we've already seen from these barriers being set up on top of the station, this is going to be difficult for 20 to get those angles without doing some crazy trick shots.
Yeah, Sentinel going to have to be very careful, almost walking right into the room with Sindri on that Doomfist. You do not want to get caught off guard. However, he was wise enough to throw some orbs down there, test these waters before they walk in.
Yeah, meanwhile, half the pool sees that Ana Widowmaker go up into the sky. They toss an arrow into them, and it's not going to result in any kills. Meanwhile, it looks like Luke is doing their best to start raining down some injustice of their own. No Farah in the sky means that they have as much time as they need to set up their shots.
Yeah, absolutely. They only do have to be wary of Half-a-Cool landing some fat shots, but Half-a-Cool looking a little bit distracted right now, going to be hopping off of Big Earls, but climbing right back on as Hanzo is wont to do with his abilities.
So there it is. The card is actually starting to move just past that choke point. No kills coming in from either side, though 20 does get napped pretty proficiently from Numi. And that's going to be a Widowmaker, not a member of the fight. But Sindri is actually the one who goes down first. Like Luke's Rockets finally finding their mark. Half-a-Cool grabs Ashbro on the way down as well. And uh-oh, it looks like it's time for Half-a-Cool to stop being distracted and start hitting heads.
Yeah, and we are seeing the side of like Luke trying so much to distract that Hanzo, but it's just not working out. Numi is not going to be getting some kills, taking out both the tanks if I'm reading that properly. And right now, it was looking good for South Africa. They bought themselves a lot of cart push time, but they just weren't quite able to make it all the way. And we're going to now be seeing continued pressure from Luke on this Farah, almost up with the Rocket Barrage, but that's against 4 ults, excuse me, on the side of Iceland themselves.
And it looks like Bongos are going to be following shortly after. The ability of Iceland, it seems, to generate their ultimates and win fights without committing them over much so, I think is going to be one of the deciding factors here. We're looking at South Africa going to have Nano Barrage and offend the Mercy ult as well, possibly Sights, but Iceland is looking so good right now, and there it is again! Ashbro goes down thanks to the accretion from Sigma and a ult from Lisa. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, that was some really strongly coordinated Doomfist Sigma play. We saw the side of Sindri kind of rotate around as soon as the offensive team rotated that bend, then went in for the seismic slam, comboed, and then after the combo was done, we saw Finzi pop that gravitic flux, bring everybody down, slam them down, and they're basically skeet shooting at that point with Numi on that hit scan on a damage.
Yeah, clay pigeons aren't that tough to hit when you have a... Jeez, look at the shot from Half a Cool. Speaking of clay pigeons...
Yeah, that's going to be a dead pigeon in the air from the side of Like Luke, and with that rocket barrage, that's going to be a loss you don't want to necessarily suffer. Doesn't look like the res is necessarily going to come in from Visions. They want to keep that res on the pocket for the next fight, and when you're so close to spawn, maybe not the worst call.
Yeah, and the flip side, South Africa also has finally an ult bank of their own to be thrown into this one. It looks like Luke's going way into the backline to pick up that barrage. They do throw it out, but instead of getting kills, they themselves instead are killed. An Uno reverse card, if you will, and now the Dragon is on the field. That's going to bisect the team quite nicely as we have maybe a little bit of an attitude. No, it's actually Sentacall.
Yeah, and there was some good response by Sentacall onto Sindri as soon as they see where they land with the Meteor Strike. They're going to set up for that signal pick up, but a lot of ults going on to the side of the DPS for South America, and they're not really going to find anything for it. Like Luke got the Nano, they popped the Valkyrie to commit for that. Just for the Rocket Barrage, it doesn't find anything. Like Luke now going to be the closest with 33% to a Blizzard. That's not the best situation.
Right, and given what we've seen from these two teams, South Africa is going to be back on their heels with no ult. Sindri is going to eliminate 20 very early into this fight, but they're trapped in that room there. It's not looking good. Yes, they do in fact go down. Half the pool is going to get topped off here, so now it's kind of an even fight with this. This one's actually going to start favoring the offense after a certain point. If it were not for Finzi coming in there with a crazy ultimate, that's going to drop down. Yep, Sentacall does get remeked and eliminated, as well as like a Luke not looking good. Ashford gets the ante. They are going to be short-lived for this world if they can't escape.
Yeah, it looks like the dive was going to come in from Shapeshifter, try to take that high ground, but just got brought down a little too low, a little too soon, and instead they had to back off, rotate back around Big Earls, and because of that, they just weren't set up in the position to get that massive cleave damage with Winston. Gonna get brought down, and the cart's gonna stop just before the first point.
Iceland might be looking for a quick exit from this particular matchup. First, the fight on Oasis, and now we're coming around to what is probably going to be the last few moments on Route 66. The victory box does not have a long ways away from the starting point of the payload. Iceland, I think, is going to have... well, their win condition is pretty quick to get to, 65.41 meters to be exact. South Africa, on the other hand, boy, do they have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, South Africa's really going to have to work to really think about how they want to go about this defense. Happy Cool, been rocking some pretty solid work so far. I think that they're really going to have to be very conscious because the Pharah play that we saw Like a Luke try to perform at today, or in this round rather, it just did not seem to deliver as much as they might have liked. Happy going to be choosing to go on to the Pharah, and on the other side, on the defensive side, as we can perhaps conjecture more about reliably, 20 on the Reaper. That's risky considering that you've been seeing a lot of long-range projectile DPS come through from the side of Iceland.
Yep. Speaking of that projectile DPS, I have a feeling Half a Cool is in fact going to be sticking on that Pharah, which is a pretty solid opening move. Meanwhile, yeah, South Africa hasn't brought a single long-range hit scan player to the field. Instead, 20's opting to stick it out on this Reaper, which now might be the strategy of winning the ground game so that the fight in the air doesn't matter.
Yeah, but the ground game's going to be pretty hard to win when Sindri is going to kind of come at you rather quickly, and Half will not being fooled by that forward hold. Going to immediately start throwing some rockets on them.
Yeah, they go right in there. Visions manages to duck away, and actually, yes, it is 20 who is going to find the kill onto Sindri. Ooh, but then there's the trades back and forth, as of course Futhark finds the res. South Africa not having a mercy of their own means any kill is going to be pretty permanent. Sindri does finally find Visions, having been brought back to life, and it's not looking good for South Africa, though they are going to have at least a couple more fights to throw into this one.
Yeah, and although you do get Sindri down, you don't quite win the fight. There's a lot of kills going in favor of the side of Iceland. Hathcool once again already having a rocket barrage on hand. Likely going to be deciding that maybe they want some hit scan to deal with this if they can get to the payload in time, get a position set up, and might be able to leverage that McCree. It's going to be tough though, as we see the forward position of Hathcool as well as Futhark, really trying to get a handle on the opposing team before they can get a handle otherwise.
Yeah, it's rare to see the attacking team go all the way past that choke marker to get into the defense, and there it is. Like a Luke switches onto the McCree, finds the kill onto Half-a-Cool, and with Futhark tied up, resurrecting them, Mooney is also going to go down. But there it is, Iceland, so dang mechanically powerful. Sindri finds 20, but Steel Dragon's going down. That's not going to bode well for Iceland's continued attack.
Yeah, the Meteor Strike going to be committed, and it's going to be taking down Like Luke. As soon as Like Luke is down, the Rocket Barrage comes out, knowing that Half-a-Cool is going to be a little uninhibited there, and right now it's just going to be Iceland riding the cart to point. That's going to be it. Iceland taking the second map as well.
I can't say I'm necessarily shocked. I do, again, really like how South Africa switched it up, but not that they took so long to do so. It looks like putting 20 on the McCree is absolutely 100% the right idea, at least when it comes to the matchup that they're going into. However, that is going to be Route 66 going the way of Oasis right into Iceland's hands after a very quick matchup, and so now we turn our attention to the future. South Africa gets one more map pick. As we know, this is the contenders format, so we're playing the 4 maps, but South Africa must take a win here or they can consider the match over.
Yeah, and they're going to be kind of reeling after that one. You would hope that you'd get a little bit more distance at least against Iceland, but to not take first points, kind of a little bit of a letdown. I'll be honest, in the sense of competitive spirit, it just did not look like it was quite all there. Iceland putting up some great performances. I don't know if we're necessarily surprised that those plays came out from them, but it's really going to be ball in the court of South Africa because they really need to make things change out here for this assault map.
And competitive spirit indeed. This is South Africa's big chance to pick a map that they truly know that they can strut their stuff, and I see that since Assault is coming up, maybe this is the time where they want to run back onto that Samra. It didn't really have a lot of good stuff for them on Oasis, but this still might be a chance where they can really make it happen, especially given that Iceland seems very intent on running a Doomfist, and we all know that there is one thing that a Doomfist hates, and that's a hack.
Yes, Sombra would be very good to run against Sindri's Doomfist. That was very proficient. However, I also would like to bring attention to what map we can potentially see here, and that's Hanamura. And for last time we saw South Africa run Hanamura, we saw them do some very clever Symmetra strats. I would really hope we can see that again. I think that's going to depend on if Iceland kind of did their research, because it's some teleports you just wouldn't see coming out of any other direction. There's just some creative ways of getting onto point for this team, and I'd love to see them if they are willing to perform it again, and it looks like the call will be for Hanamura, so potentially.
Oh, they've got to be going for it. Please say they're going for it. If I get to go nuts about that again, that would just be too cool. But in any event, yes. It also looks like we might be getting some substitutions coming in. Sindri is ducking out, and they're actually going to be bringing in Snorlax, which, given how amazing they were on the Doomfist, there must be something that Snorlax is bringing to the table that they're going to want to throw in. And based on the heroes that they think they're best at, it looks like Sombra or Genji might be something we might be getting a chance to see.
Yeah, fingers crossed that that's going to be the case. We are about to roll right into Hanamura. And right now, the tension's kind of surmounting for me, as we are going to be able to see South Africa on the attack to start. But yeah, we might just right off the bat see some sim play, and I'm kind of hoping for it. Some sim, maybe some. Well, on the attack, I don't think we'll see South Africa run the Pharah. I might be cursing myself right here, but they just have not seemed that friendly to run it themselves. I think that the sim probably the safer pick to expect from this team.
Yep, absolutely. So we have our time counting down, and before we go into this fight, we want to remind everyone that there is a merchandise store that is being linked in the Twitch chat. If you have a team that you really want to support and you also want to score some sick gear, grab a look and take a look. It's going to be some good times, and yes, like a Luke, locking in the Symmetra. Man, I'm hoping. I'm praying.
Yeah, absolutely. And surprisingly, not going to be seeing any Pharah from the side of the Icelandic team. Half-a-Cool going to be staying true to their name, going on to the May, staying very cool out there. And Snorlax going on to the Hanzo. Not necessarily sure how this will play into the game, but I'm very excited to see it. Hanzo, if you're able to get those dragons, you have a very tight choke point that make them pretty valuable in cutting off teams.
Yeah, this could be a pretty solid option for them, especially given that Half-a-Cool is now also playing onto the May, which we haven't really seen coming out from from Iceland just yet, but coupling a well-timed Maywall with a well-timed arrow to the head can be just what the choke ordered. Now, however, let's see if they go for the strat again. They did. They went exactly for it. Oh my goodness. It looks like a Maywall was almost attempted to be set up and counter, and it happened. Like Alive gets killed, and Like Luke gets killed immediately as they go through. I think Iceland may have done their homework.
Yeah, and Sentikal actually getting through the teleporter as well, but not going to quite be enough, as he will be the only member to get through. Going to be taking a quick jump off of a long pier, a long cliff, I should say. And Snorlax cleaning up 20, and we're seeing Iceland get a little bit aggressive here, and it's going to pay off as they clean up Visions. It's not what you want to have happen. Snorlax already a decent amount of the way to those Dragon Eggs. And, you know, that's a very valuable ult that you can use to stall out. Even just a few moments, a few seconds in time can be critical.
Yes, Shapeshifter going to start this fight off by getting stunned as they make their way into the point. Like Luke still sitting on this Symmetra. I can only assume that they're going to be dropping another teleporter in there. And yes, Barrier 1 is out. Barrier 2 is in. The Maywall, however, keeps them from getting to it. This is amazing. Iceland is reading South Africa like a book. They're not letting Like Luke get any of their mobility off at all.
Yeah, whether you want to call it superior game sense or prior research, these players know what to expect from this South African team. They are just performing so well against this teleporter. I think it's time to call it, and it looks like that's exactly what South Africa is going to do. Like Luke going to be coming out on the Doom Fist, and they're going to be switching to a pharmacy combo of their own.
So this is again where South Africa has maybe actually done their switches perfectly this time. They gave it 2 fights, they're down to 2 minutes left. They still have enough of a chance to fight a couple times, get some ultimates, some fight-winning ults, and really get in there, fight past this Icelandic defense, which honestly isn't building up a lot of ultimates because of how quickly the fights are going.
Yeah, really, I mean, we see that there is a handful of ultimates, but still, you'd expect that after 2 or 3 fights, there'd be a lot more. That being said, though, the other side isn't exactly looking clean either. This is the only one with the coalescence on the board.
So there it goes, but it's Futhark this time. In the healing and the damage, but this time Futhark brings the damage. And despite getting knocked out by 20, Visions being one of the only players left from South Africa alive, this is also going to be a push that South Africa will not push through. Shapeshifter on this Winston, I don't know, this is historically hasn't worked out for them.
Yeah, and oh, he gets concussion blast right off of the edge. That's going to be a late kill, but one that South Africa might be able to push up on, considering the long walkback time for the Ana. They still will have to deal with the Immort field from Futhark, though. That's going to be a challenge in and of itself, as well as the 5 ults that South Africa's going to have to go up against, knowing how to cool Snorlax and company going to be having those on them.
Yeah, that is a truckload of ultimates, and the Diva is there, potentially can eat a lot of those. Now a Shapeshift in the backline, finally getting some, nope, they get immediately taken down, but no, Sentinel's there to back up the dive, and now kills are starting to go majorly for South Africa, and with point control firmly in the hands of South Africa, this might be the time for Iceland to go down, except for the sheer quantity of ults that they're dropping.
Yeah, we're going to see some characters swap out. It's looking like bare bones battles on point. Steel Dragons, as well as the Tracer by Snorlax, going to be the only ones on point. And right now, Snorlax and the Hammond trying to just hold out as long as possible. Thingy just spinning to win, as you like to see it in all your regular standard games. And right now, it's looking so back and forth, but it looks like South Africa's finally getting a handle on the situation. They might be able to reclaim it. They're certainly getting some progress on the board.
Yes, Iceland's half a cool. It looks like they are going to be taking a... Nope, they're just going to actually be sprinting back to point. This is my new favorite thing ever. I have no idea what half a cool is doing right now. Oh, they're going for the spawn split. What the hell is this?
That is very tough. And right now, we're seeing a lot of ults online for the side of South Africa. Africa just in the back. Just, good grief. You have to have... You gotta understand how much time you wasted, Sentinel, chasing that kill. But you get the kill regardless. You're still gonna have a lot of ults online. You might have the full 6-piece online by the time you're done with it. So there's going to be a lot of potential here for South Africa to really combo something, but you can't get picked off early, 20.
Yeah, so a pulled pork coming out with a surprise swap from Iceland. That is one of my new favorite things ever. So Shapeshifter has dove in way into the backline. Snorlax, however, was waiting for them with a well-placed McCree. Flashbang, wang bang, thank you ma'am, and it's all done. Now the Iceland spawn presses on. Likely gets taken down very early, and it looks like it might also be time for Centicall to... Nope, they do manage to get out of there alive. Well on ya.
Yeah, Centicall not getting staggered, that is perhaps one of the biggest benefits you could have from that player. You do not want to get D-mech as Diva. It will take you forever to get back into the mech, or you have to commit Seppuku to get back into the fight quicker. And right now, we're going to be seeing Steel Dragons have that bongo going up against still the 6 ults on the side of South Africa. Look like they're going to commit a lot of them.
Yep, and wow, this is crazy. All Festival City. Centicall gets destroyed as soon as they're out of mech. The res comes in, so they are going to get back in there immediately, only to get knocked down very swiftly. 20 goes down. Shapeshifter getting some weight out of that Tesla cannon. Finally, they're even going to stay alive for even longer in this fight, but now it's just truckload of Iceland is on the point, and Mercy getting whipped into a wall.
Yeah, Vision's looking like they were getting a little too carried away with themselves, going in with that coalescence, getting hit by the Doomfist, getting taken out early. You do not want to lose not only your healer, but your ultimate as well. That was perhaps a little bit of a miscalculation. Like Luke going on to this sim, might be trying for another teleporter strat as we saw last time.
So now this is interesting. There's a bunch of ults that are about to come online, and a nano boosted hog is one of the most dangerous things on the planet. 20, if you come out of here with that Bastion, I want to see something crazy go on here. And yeah, it looks like here it comes with 30 seconds left. This is South Africa's best push that they have with the Symmetra again. This is how they took it last time.
Yeah, absolutely. However, it looks like Iceland not going to let themselves be caught off guard. They're going to be trying to take the high ground, South Africa. But a boot coming in.
Yeah, that already takes it. Half a cool grabs like the loot. Finzi rips open with the whole hog. There's no way that South Africa's going to be able to survive from this one. They start throwing every ultimate that they have for this. Is half a cool. Another 2K on the seismic banks. This is a well-placed approach for the team, and with no progress made on point B, that is where South Africa makes their stand.
Yeah, meaning that now South Africa has to have a first point hold in order just to take a point away. They need to have a full second point hold if they want to basically even draw this. And that's looking a bit unrealistic, if I'm being sincere here, Threepwood.
Yes, it is a super rough situation for South Africa to be in. As proficient as Iceland has been, it is going to take the most devious of stratagems for South Africa to make it happen. I'm assuming that it's not going to include a Bastion. I'm also assuming that it's not going to include a teleporter. Iceland was fantastic at shutting those plays down literally every time they happened, including right there at the very end.
Yeah, Iceland's so heads up on their understanding of the opposing team comp and how the opposing team wants to use it. But now they're going to get to show people, they're going to get to show South Africa, rather, how it's done. And the Brig, interesting, but unrealistic to me. I think we're still going to be seeing the Pharmacy Afakul onto that Pharah, onto the Sombra, actually, as it appears. Maybe doing a little bit of scouting just to peek who might be coming out on the defense to start.
Yep, and yes, so it's not what I thought was going to happen. Halfacool currently sitting on the Sombra with Snorlax ducking onto a Tracer, Finzi on a Winston. Man, I know it's not going to happen, but I'd love to see what Iceland could pull off from a dive. Meanwhile, though, 20 on the Pharah this time around with Lycaluke on the Mei. That could be a switch up there due to the proficiency Lycaluke has with Mei.
Yeah, it certainly could be worth noting. No hit scan players on the side, or no hits long-range hit scan players on the side of South Africa, meaning that if Halfacool does end up switching to that Pharah, might be to some very lethal effect. Instead, exactly what we're going to see. Snorlax hopping onto the Sombra as Halfacool goes on to Pharah.
Yep, Halfacool is going to have the duel in the sky. Some dogfights with 20. Meanwhile, Snorlax, yes, as predicted from their earlier sub, they are going to be going in on the Sombra, and they are taking the oft-tried and true route down around the left-right flank, so to speak. And that's going to be the play on the point, as Iceland has made entrance through the choke.
And that's kind of the benefit when you're playing with such a big time bank. You have the opportunity to switch, know what you have to do to take it. You just have to get into a comfortable pace. Exactly what Iceland's doing, and they're getting the kills flow. Yeah,
it's not really quite the same thing as Death Ball, but man, once you open it up with Snorlax's kill on 2 Visions, that's pretty much the point right then and there. Your kills are permanent, the presence is there. Iceland has point A, and that is a huge quantity of time for them to get a third on point B.
Yeah, on the plus side for South Africa, there's not a lot of ult charge quite built up for Iceland just yet. They might have to deal with the coalescence. But now we're going to be seeing 20 and Lycman both switch to the hit scan characters. Maybe they want to get a handle on that Pharah. Pharah been a bugbear for them the entire day, so certainly can't blame them. But other than that, not a lot of ults, not a lot of resources to work with in comparison for either team, really. Both ults looking rather dry.
Yeah, you figured Snorlax would have had at least a little more progress towards that EMP after the work they did on point A, but that's not actually going to happen. Looks like 20 may have found some hint of the somber footsteps, but instead, after having used that flash, rather, Fan the Hammer, it's a total... What?
Iceland,
oh no!
Iceland just going to take presence on point. Nobody from South Africa there to really even contest. That's got to be so frustrating if you're on the South African team. You hate to see it happen. It's rough. That's real rough.
That is sheer brutality as we look at this lovely little diva boot from Call. This is just the kind of thing, like Sir Waltham had mentioned, it happens. You gotta take it on the chin, stiff upper lip, and move right along. Oh, that is still a really rough play. So that is going to be the series per contenders format. We are going to play the fourth map for the points. And now it is once again going to be South Africa's pick.
Yeah, and this time, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to be going to a hybrid map, it seems, is the call. Yes, the hybrid map is our fourth of the evening, night, depending on your location. And hybrid, man, I would like to say that there's a pick that makes the most sense for South Africa, but right now they are having just such a tough time. You can't really expect that any pick in particular, as far as map goes, is going to help them out too much. You can think that maybe there are some that they will perform better on, but really it just seems like Iceland being a step above them, just out of reach.
Yeah, the matches that we've seen so far have been pretty decidedly in the favor of Iceland. It was some good fights that South Africa had been putting up on Oasis earlier on, but now it looks like South Africa is just going to struggle to make this at least something other than a shutout, as they honestly have yet to even put a point on the board.
Yeah, that's really going to be true. And it looks like they're going to be choosing King's Row as their elected map ends. You know, at this point, I have to question South Africa's choices. Is it just because you're comfortable on King's Row? Because you know King's Row has the huge opportunity for both Pharah and a little bit of Hanzo, depending on your opposing team. So you have that option. And, you know, Iceland definitely been very willing to run it. So I think that, you know, maybe South Africa might wanted to have tried to get away from that. I'm just saying Horizon Lunar Colony would have been great for that. But as we are in the hybrid mode now, it's a little bit interesting to me to see that they're so willing to play into something that seems to give them a lot of trouble.
Agreed. They are willingly selecting this map. I can only assume that it is because out of all the other escort titles, or rather hybrid titles, as we saw previously, you know, Hollywood was a bit of a thing. It might be just their go-to pick. And they do have a tendency to run the Mei as well, who can be very good at pretty much any stage of the King's Row map. So I can only assume that that's going to factor into their strategy in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you have to think so. And right now, I think I would go along the lines to say that King's Row, at least on first point, which I think is going to be a large crux of our battle, is going to be kind of dependent on that long-range hit scan, or at least your hit scan players in general, which South Africa just hasn't seemed to really pan out who they want to handle that long-range hit scan position. 20 been hopping onto it, but they've also been kind of hopping around onto projectile heroes. It just seems like this roster hasn't quite placed itself yet, but that's not that hard of a decision to make once you get it locked down. That to me seems like it would be a notable improvement for South Africa if they're able to make that change happen.
Yeah, 20, it's difficult to say whether 20 hasn't been getting the support that they need, and it's difficult to say possibly they maybe are missing some shots that they really need to be clutching through. And sometimes, you know, your hit scan player can be consistent, but they can't just be popping off all the time. And, you know, if they were, we'd be seeing them on, you know, the world stages by now. And maybe, you know, people have off days. So with that being said, 20 is, yes, going to be, it looks like, possibly on the Hanzo, and that could be the sniper, maybe just a little bit of a change in their playstyle to really get some kills, open up this point, get a play started, as we are going to be seeing Iceland on defense. And yeah, they're going to be running the also popular double barriers with that Mei, and Snorlax is now sticking in the game on the Hanzo.
Yeah, that Hanzo, not that big of a surprise. Again, when you have a choke as tight as this one, if you don't have a team that can just bypass it, Hanzo can be able to spam into any barrier that gets put up there to try to mitigate some of that damage, can put so much pressure onto those barriers. And we're in fact going to be seeing the double barrier comp come through, and we'll see if it ends up providing any benefit for South Africa.
And so now it's 20 jumping onto the Pharah, who with their Mercy support in the sky is headshotted with Icicle right out of the sky because half a cool has to stay cool, if you know what I mean. 20 does get rest up immediately though, the fight is going strong, but now the kills are going to start coming for Iceland, who are going to make it very difficult for South Africa to keep this push alive.
Yeah, the res coming through does not prove to be enough. It's going to be the Maywall just preventing the escape from the three remaining members of South Africa. At least it almost prevented the escape. He's going to navigate the corridor, but eventually fall. And with that, we're seeing the US looking pretty close to ults. Well, fairly close to ults on the side of Iceland. And Snorlax getting so aggressive with this Hanzo, basically taking it to the spawn. Putting an arrow right into the heart of Sentinel. Not going to be dropping them though, so they don't get that stack.
Yes, so this is going to be an interesting situation. South Africa are putting themselves into a pretty good position to bust this fight open, except the one individual getting closest to their ult is just taken down, and the res has gone in. Ashbro, though, however, while someone else wasn't looking, gets taken out by Finzi and Tanks. The ults coming out from Steel Dragons are unbelievable, putting everyone where they need to be to get fragged.
Yeah, and we've seen that a lot with the Risses. They've been doing so well at placing their ult where it'll get a nice meteor strike or a nice rock from Sigma or a barrage. We've been seeing so much coordination from Oriskli that it really cannot be understated.
Yeah, and the tanks, yes, as you mentioned, the accretion coming out from Sigma, and speaking of accretion, now we have the Gravitic Flux coming out. Snorlax's Storm Arrows find Like a Luke and take them right the heck out. And so now Sentinel is going to drop the Sigma ult of their own. Kills are going to have to start coming out from this, it's going to matter. And yes, Steel Dragons does go down. The Blizzards from Half a Cool is there, and only Shapeshifter caught in it.
Yeah, only Shapeshifter, but Snorlax going to be giving them a rocket to the face for their troubles, although things are looking a little bit more even for South Africa.
Yes, the kill goes into Newly and goes down, but there's the trade once again. Like a Luke not able to stay up long enough or get out of the way to pull off his ultimate, which would have saved their life. So now Iceland once again stabilizes, though it's going to be the Lucio taxi making it 6v6 once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Footheart going to be having that sound barrier as we speak about the Lucios. Perhaps get a nice amount of defensive hold coming through, but they have to be careful. There's not a lot of ults they could use them against them. Likely going to be dropping from Snorlax and arrows to start.
So that's one of the situations you maybe don't want to see happen as a Doomfist. The Bongos is dropped, they go ripping right into the center of the Iceland team, and what happens? They get focused down by just about every member there. Without any support, that's what's going to happen every time. And so now Stagger's going to start coming through from Iceland. It's the 60-second warning from Athena. This is going to be rough.
Yeah, there needs to be a serious effort here made from the side of South Africa that they don't get full held here. They want to get at least that 1/3 on the board so they can at least have the potential to make this game a win as opposed to a draw. But right now they're still going up. They're just giving Snorlax so many angles to get those picks from.
Yes, the staggers are crazy coming in, and the barriers are not being led with here. And instead, it's going to be it's got to be stagger stall comps coming out soon for South Africa, otherwise they're not going to be able to get in there. Half a Cool is already about to build up to their next Blizzard, and that is going to spell duty. So now Bongo's coming in though, this is good. That means, yes, 20 drops the barrage, Steel Dragons go down, it's Ultimate Festival for South Africa, who dropped the Seismic Sling right into the backline.
Yeah, absolutely. The pickup going to be given on Divisions, who gets focused down by Snorlax. The Blizzard coming out, and that looks like it's going to be the final nail in the coffin here for South Africa's push here. Yep, that's not really going to be doing anything for them. They are going to get full held.
It's the way you definitely wanted to start that fight, that's for sure. However, South Africa not able to push it through, unfortunately. So it is once again in full hold territory for them. If they want to at least keep the score at 3-zip, they're going to have to make that happen. Otherwise, well, we can kiss this 4-0 goodbye.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick game if they don't have something to really bolster themselves down here. I don't necessarily know what they're going to even want to opt into, because as I mentioned before, we're almost certainly going to be expecting the Pharah to be coming out from the offensive side. And what does South Africa look the best on at countering the Pharah? It's a question left to the ages, because we haven't really seen them counter a Pharah much historically.
Yep, and so it is going to be Snorlax leading this unabashed and potentially. Um, a 20 on the Widowmaker, though. Could this be something big? I'm not sure. Otherwise, Fincy onto this Winston. We've seen dives come out before. If Iceland, or rather, Shapeshifter had some fun times on the Winston, was even getting it to some good effect. So I don't know if it's going to meet the same benefits, but a punchy kind of comp with the Hammond and the Winston has, on paper, a lot of potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like we're actually, for the first time in, I believe, a while, we're going to be seeing the Brig come out. Maybe you're expecting a little bit of a dive. The Wrecking Ball could be kind of stopped in his tracks by Visions. I believe this is also the first time we saw Visions not playing Moira.
Yes, and so Finzy's actually on a Reinhardt. This used to be the popular choice. They are going to go ripping in. They're going to come charging right through with that big 2,000 HP shield. And they're going to get this fight going, and half a pool diving into the backline along with them is just what the punchy Dr. Horde.
Yeah, Thundercall going to be getting some kills here. There's going to be no res available for the Icelandic team, but it's not really going to matter as in the blink of an eye, they're able to take the point. Iceland going to be taking King's Row, making it for a clean 4-0 on their end.
So with that is, as Waltham had said, hook, line, sinker. We're going to get play of the game from Snorlax, who had been subbed in for the last 2 games to get their stuff going, and some really solid proficient Hanzo coming out from them. I liked what I saw from Iceland, first time seeing them on the field, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else they can do in this contender, in this Eurocup, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to look forward to it. And a little bit of communication between the 2 teams, having some fun with each other. But overall, I think these teams played pretty valiantly. Iceland obviously coming out on top. You just got to say that, it looked like South Africa was giving it their best. They just did not quite have the tools. They were trying to eat soup with a pair of chopsticks. And, I don't think you can necessarily say that's anybody's fault. They just did not quite have, what it took to, in particular, a lot of times, I think, deal with the Pharah.
Exactly, and I think that is going to be kind of the theme that we've been seeing from these games so far. It's if you have the Pharah and you have that ruler in the sky, odds are you're going to be taking the victory unless the other team can counter it in any way, shape, or form. Consistently, every game we've been watching, it's the team that has the uncontested Pharah that is really going to make it happen. Plus, what we saw previously from the South Africa-Bulgaria game and yesterday's matches as well, it's also a Doomfist. The ability of both of those heroes, despite the barriers that are being flung about, to get behind them and get some kills is fantastic, especially with Pharah and those direct hits. The way hero people, I think, are tending to clump up behind those barriers makes getting those direct hits a lot, I guess, easier, more ult charge, all of those things together. Yeah. It's a huge problem.
It makes them definitely more impactful, and I think that's what we love to see out of the Pharah. So definitely going to be keeping an eye out for that as it develops throughout the Overwatch scene. But for this match between Iceland and South Africa, I think we are about ready to wrap it up. Wouldn't you say, 3?
I actually have just received word that we are going to be doing our post-match interview. We purportedly are going to be getting a hold of Steel Dragons, the main tank magnifique from the Iceland team.
Fantastic. Looking forward to hearing from them right now. Just waiting on the confirmation. And, I want to talk about that because I was bringing it up, I believe it was during King's Row, about how Orisa has been kind of very instrumental in those micro plays where you get the halt just to set up a bigger, more impactful ult or ability. You see the Accretion Rock get thrown in after an ult. You'll see the Rocket Barrage follow the ult. You'll see the Sigma Slam come in after the halt. So I think that Orisa is kind of one of those low-key players in this game that's definitely having a bigger impact than perhaps a lot of people are giving him credit for.
It is pretty clear that you can see why in the double barriers, quote-unquote, meta, why Orisa, as you've mentioned, is the main tank du jour. Sigma doesn't necessarily have the abilities to keep that main tank role, but Orisa can take the stage. She has that fortification ability as well to keep herself alive when the shield goes down. With that slightly extended cooldowns become a bit more of a problem. But as you mentioned, I think it's the all-important halt ability. 100% agreed. That is making her, so far, almost a 100% pick rate.
Yeah, I think that outside of a few niche cases, we have seen Orisa pretty consistently So I'm definitely looking to see if we can get the confirmation for Steel Dragons to pop in with us. Love hearing their point of view as to how, um, the Arissa kind of fits into that whole situation. We are having a little bit of issue getting in touch with them, but do stand by, folks. And three, don't you think this is a great time to mention the merchandise?
I think it's a fantastic time to mention the merchandise. I've taken a look at the store myself, and the teams' stuff that they got going on, the logos are absolutely fantastic. So remember, in the Twitch chat, you should see some sick links to the merchandising store. Don't forget to go click it over, take a look. And of course, if you've been liking what we've been putting out from Monkey Bubble, don't forget to throw us a follow and even a subscribe if you're feeling plucky. Also, as a reminder, we have games going on other streams as well, specifically from the Casters Nest as well as Titans Media, so don't forget to go over and have a peek at them. Meanwhile, though, also, as again, I can't mention it enough, the Matcherino.com link will be in the Twitch chat. Grab your favorite team's merchandise, support them on their way to the World Cup.
Yeah, a lot of this revenue does help to go towards those teams. We love helping them get that support. As you know, things have changed with the Overwatch World Cup a little bit, and now teams going to be needing a little bit more of that scratch to get there. But me and Threep are more than happy to help do our part to give those teams that support. We hope you guys will do as well. But either way, links in the chat below. We love seeing those endorsements as well. Three, thank you very much. But it looks like we are still having a little bit of trouble getting our interviewee in here. Not quite sure what the word is just yet. And fantastic. As I hear it, we are just about to have them pop in here. And as I say that, Steel Dragon's going to be popping into chat with us. How are you doing, my friends?
I'm doing very well. How about you guys?
Doing
Dandy.
pretty stellar. Yeah, that was a very entertaining game to watch from you guys. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Now, you were playing largely the Orisa that entire game. Is that correct?
Yes.
What, in your opinion, was kind of the biggest component of your Orisa play that you, if you were making a highlight reel, would highlight from your games with South Africa?
Sucks every time.
And that's exactly what me and
Aw.
Three were kind of talking about a little bit. That those Orisa halls seem so key in setting up a lot of different plays. They weren't flashy, they don't show up on the kill feed that much, but they're still very instrumental. In your opinion, do you think that your communications are necessarily uh, of a supreme caliber, or is it more of a game sense where your DPS and your other players just kind of know where to go with that when you do the halts?
It's more like just game sense overall in a team. Huffy shot calls most of our fights, and then it's just letting everyone know that I'm sucking, and they all know what to do when it happens. So.
Very fantastic. Three, I'll let you take away with a couple questions here.
So another quick question, hopefully quick rather, since we've ducked into this 2-2 roll-lock with this brand new patch that we have to deal with, Orisa, Sigma, they're pretty much the tanks du jour. But do you see any of the other tank heroes getting some playtime?
I think ball is definitely viable. You can run like ball monkey dive into Ursa Sigma, but I don't really see any other tanks that are going to be played. I don't think.
Ah, okay. So goodbye, Zarya Diva 100% pick rate, though we did get to see some tasty little Reinhardt action there at the end.
Yeah, I was kind of on the spot thinking, but it seems to have worked out.
Well, the
I'll
crowd control
certainly
that Reinhardt can bring out is certainly fun.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about Hanamura for a second because there was something me and Thief were expecting to happen that you guys actually locked down on pretty well. They brought out a sim on the first point, and they tried to do some sneaky teleporter strats going on along those lines. Was you guys' responsiveness because you responded almost immediately to those teleporters? Was that a result of prior research, or were you guys just really heads up about those plays that were going through at the moment?
Yeah, we had we watched a little bit of their game that they had earlier today against Bulgaria, I think. Yeah. And a lot of people or a lot of teams try to do the exact same thing, and we already know how to respond like way before.
You guys heard it
Fantastic.
from us first, kids. Do your homework.
Absolutely. All inspiring words to all the high schoolers and college kids out there playing the game. But man, it was just looking so good. Steel Dragons, do you have any words that you'd like to say to your fans or to anybody watching the stream right now?
Well, I just say keep on watching because it's gonna get a lot better in the future.
Damn.
Fantastic. We love hearing it. Now, 3P, got any more questions for our wonderful guest interviewee before we let him go?
I only want one more send off. So, as you guys are going through with the Iceland team, what plans do you guys have next?
Just keep on winning, and then yeah, make
Onwards and
everyone fear
upwards.
us before World Cup, I guess.
Make a name
Absolutely
for
love
yourself
it.
before the world stage. Dig it, dig
Yeah.
it.
All right, fantastic. Well, Steel Dragons, thank you very much for popping into the chat and answering just a few questions for us. We hope you have a good day, my friend, or a good night, depending on the time zone over there. And we hope the rest of your games go just as well.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Have a good one. And for those of us here at the Monkey Bubble, we are just about ready to sign off. Wouldn't you say so, Threep?
I think we're just about done here. This has been Monkey Bubble Official bringing you the Eurocup fundraiser, and I've been 3007.
And likewise, I've been Sir Waltham. And for those of you at home, we want to thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you guys have a great evening, night, afternoon, whatever time it is in your local time zone, and we hope you stay safe out there, everybody.